Okay, well, welcome to the first discussion episode of Axiom. So these episodes are obviously going to be a little bit different than the main track videos that we put out. This is one where we more freeform discuss anything we've been talking about, anything we want to talk about, go into more in-depth free flow discussion on basically whatever we think is relevant, maybe related to what we've been talking about, might not.
Hopefully disagreeing in most of it.
Yes. So I think one thing that can be said against the main track videos is that they're only spoken from one perspective, basically. Yeah. Like, this is so far 80% my own input, my own opinions, my own ideas for what should be talked about, how it should be covered. And so I came up with the idea, which I've described in the intro to this channel, that, look, there should be some kind of outlet that's going through basically every subject in life, just trying to hit the bullet points, but trying to do it as best as it can. Going into that with the full knowledge that this is coming from my own biases. Yeah. And so, but being open-handed about that has been helpful in inviting other people to come provide their feedback, because I don't want this to just be my opinions. In fact, I just want to be a participant in this. I don't even really want to be the one researching this or making the material, making the content. I just want to be discussing it. I want to be learning, etc. So
you've told me several times, like, someone more qualified than I should be doing this.
Yes, you know? Right. Like this is kind of a prototype. Yeah. Actually, I'm trying to show people the general idea of what I think would be cool if it existed, so that we could provide people with better platforms for discussing worthwhile ideas and concepts on practically every subject in life.
Yeah.
So anyways, with that little explanation out of the way for what this episode is going to be, I'm going to real quick introduce you, Axel, to Axiom. So why don't you real quick explain what you've been doing with, like, your podcast and like talk about how our projects seem to have kind of aligned, and maybe talk a little bit about how we met too.
Sure. As you can tell, I was the inspiration behind the name Axiom. Just kidding.
He is just kidding.
But I guess when he says podcast, I guess it means, or when you say podcast,
you've been saying podcast.
I've been saying podcast because I unfortunately live in fantasy land where I have all these ideas and the execution has suffered a lot. I guess in where I'm coming from, I love the hard sciences. I like my sciences hard, right? So I really enjoy being almost arrogant in declaring something to be one thing, with the desire that somebody will come at me and try to prove me wrong with a level of expertise. My opinions about consciousness, my opinions about free will, my opinions about what the universe is supposed to be. It gets as far away from cloudy, non-discrete definitions as possible. That's my favorite approach. The first thing that I started...
Well, and that's a significant area of overlap between what you and I have been trying to do also.
I've noticed that it's like, let's find a concrete point to start at.
And like, maybe not claiming to have optimized everything, but trying to optimize.
Yeah, or I guess my approach has been to do it daringly, so as to provoke another person to be just as concrete, instead of everybody living in the, we don't know, it could be whatever.
It's fascinating that we're actually kind of only talking about this now, because that's been a motivation for mine too, to almost provoke someone to come try, especially with those first principles or something. And I think chapter 1A kind of accomplishes that, of like saying, okay, let's try to take the most basic axiom we could and attack it. Yeah. Like, let's try to find another way around it. And I still invite criticism, and I don't think it's maybe perfectly optimized, but it is dang close. So anyways, similar motive.
Yeah, like that's the thing about Axiom that I found very the most appealing, is that, well, I have my approach to what everything is or what it's supposed to be. And I love the first principle approach of where do we start? Well, something has to be real, and we all have to agree that that is real. What fascinates me is how easy starts, right? We all agree.
Yes,
it's pretty binary, right?
And it's so fucking benign.
Yeah,
like it's such a just like almost uselessly neutral point to make.
Something is.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nobody who disagrees with that.
Yeah, from the most villainous and morally bankrupt to the most holy of holy people.
Yeah,
everyone.
And it's like there are people who say they might disagree with it, but like I'm not really sure about that.
There was a key thing that was mentioned in that, I believe the first episode is like, whoever denies reality and walks away is walking on a ground that is real.
Right. And, I could see someone maybe coming up with like counters or kind of nitpicky things about that, but it's like, it just doesn't seem true. It just doesn't seem to check out that like, you say nothing exists, and then you go walk away, and you believe the floor exists.
Which brings me, like, when I started hearing about that, the first thing, and I think the thing that I wanted to introduce was the idea of intelligence. Whenever we're talking about sentience, and I'm sorry if I'm getting ahead in the script, but whenever we're talking about sentience or something being anything, humans have to acknowledge, okay, I am. There's probably other people who are, right? But we also have to acknowledge other things also are, but not at the same level that I am ising.
Oh, this is such a huge point in my like whole philosophy, which I haven't really emphasized a lot actually in the first chapter.
Yeah.
But that your epistemology, your view of the world is you-centric.
Yep.
And you don't even know that other consciousnesses exist more as much as you know about your own.
Yeah.
Like you can infer, you can assume, and this seems to be consistently checking out.
Yeah.
That that this is working the way I assume and extrapolate, that these things act like I feel like I do.
Yeah.
But therefore you are referencing your own sensation, your own experience, which you hold as more certain than the other things.
Yeah.
I didn't really go into how this applies to morality in my explanation of chapter 1, but that is a huge emphasis of mine in why you have to prioritize yourself first, because you're more certain that you exist.
It's more testable.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like your morality cannot be based in outside things that like are external to you. Obviously, we'll get into that more someday, I'm sure. But yeah,
I would postulate that the chief reason any human started questioning even their own reality, believe it or not, is because the inconsistency across multiple individuals' assessment of reality, if that makes sense. Meaning that explain. I know this table is real, and I know that Ryan is a thinking man like I am, and all of a sudden you go, this table is not that real. I'm like, whoa. All of a sudden there's
okay, so you say it's these external inconsistencies, let's say, that cause you to question your own thing. See, I think you don't even need to notice external inconsistencies. You can notice internal inconsistencies, right?
Yeah,
you can notice your own mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's worth noting how much like humans don't like to do that. We don't have the tendency to question our own reality because our brain, the default mode of our brain is, this is it. We're not going to question it.
And your view of it might also provoke us in a competitive way. Mm-hmm. That like you're saying the table is there, I'm saying the table is not there. I'm saying let me come back at this guy to show him he's wrong. And I mean personally, I basically fully defend that impulse to competitively try to make a point or argue for something. Obviously we're talking about stuff that's way down the line already, but like that competitive impulse, I think, is something that needs to be like cultivated and like guided, kind of.
It can get dangerous, but I respect it more than the passive approach of it's your reality, my reality. It's like
because you know what I think that is a cheap cop out.
And it's also dangerous.
And it's dangerous, right? And it's like, what's funny? I trust fostering or cultivating uncapped, unlimited competition before I trust uncapped, unlimited passiveness.
Yeah. It would be interesting to quantify which attitude does more damage, because attempting to enforce my reality upon another person can be considered more cruel, but also sitting passively and being like just allowing the world to be whatever it may be, it decreases like the human progress, if you could call it that.
Yeah, you know? And well, there's a lot to say.
Yes,
about
that's very
that.
packed.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure we will get into that eventually. We met at I call it a science discussion meetup.
Mm-hmm.
It's a organization puts on science talks. It's generally science talks.
Yeah.
Right?
Secular talks.
Yeah, secular talks. Because it happens during church time on Sundays. I mean, a lot of people who have, I guess, a high regard and familiarity with science. And so we met at that. And then you were talking about the podcast that you had in mind and we're doing. I don't know if you said all you wanted to about that.
For mine, it's like, the one that I've most recently started thinking about is I have these two other friends. Even though we're all atheists, we approach life from such different places. One of them, even I would say, is more spiritual, and the other one is much more moral. We're both we all have our obsessions, and we all take such strong stances.
Well, and to me, that's hardly surprising that atheists approach life kind of more differently.
Yeah, this is not a worldview.
Because I don't know, all it says is one thing about this little subject, and you can. Like, I am a quote-unquote atheist. I don't really identify either way, but a lot of people would look at my beliefs and say, this is atheism.
Yeah.
But I believe in objective morality. I believe in free will. And that's very different from most atheists.
Yeah.
And so you have a huge tent of people who may even, like, be at each other's throats about differences, and they might all be like atheists or whatever. So that that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's what it's about. We talk about any kind of philosophical disagreement that we may have and go at it. Our phone conversations are so fun, and this is not unique to us. I think there are many conversations in an educated setting where it would be fun to listen to, because you can root for, especially if there's disagreement, you can root for one side. And it's almost like watching a football game where you're like, I would make this move, I would make that move. You know, it's like, oh, and you get angry when they're not making the right move. You're all of a sudden engaged in it. In a conversation, it kind of follows the same way. If this guy is making the point that I want to make, I kind of enjoy how the points he's hitting. I'm not enjoying it.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, because I think there's something to, like, wanting something to be articulated the way you think it should be articulated, to justify the things you want justified, and to kind of, I mean, see, this isn't a bad word in my vocabulary, but to checkmate the other view. And you'll notice, just like a football game or something, if you step your foot that way, or if you phrase the question that way, you're going to leave them open to just running around you on the other side. You should have phrased it this way to leave them nowhere to go.
And the audience is like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, right.
With frustration or relation. Yeah, so I still in the theory phase. And logistically, we need to get the guys in one room and talk. But one of them just got... And then the other one is actually it's still available and it could come around, but we'll see.
Okay, we're editing the fuck out of this.
I'm sorry. He didn't get, but I like to say that because he could get. It just hasn't happened yet, but he had to move.
It's ironic that we have been talking all over the place already and haven't even gotten much to which is totally fine.
Yeah,
but. It's ironic that you're talking about your frustration with how wishy-washy the subject of philosophy can be. One of the things that I've explained before, and sometimes I even say, look, I hate philosophy.
Yeah.
Usually it is just an exploration of some old dead guy's ideas about life.
And 90% a semantics battle.
Yes,
which I hate.
Right. Yep. And there are a few golden nugget quotes from philosophers in the past who point this out too, and say too much of what we're doing is just wasting time.
Yeah.
And too much of this subject is a semantics battle and is not actually serving happiness, is not actually progressing us towards something. Yeah. And I thought, I'm actually mainly thinking of Epicurus when I say that. And I think that is just massively profound to like in your own practice, in your own field. And the guy basically ran philosophical cults around the Mediterranean until Christianity came and shut it down. And he himself was saying, like, philosophy without actually progressing you toward happiness is just a waste of time. And that's so much of what I see in the university setting. It's just, hey, this guy thought that. This guy thought that. I say, put your money where your mouth is and tell me what you think and make it productive. Stop wasting my time with what everyone from history thought about something, because you know what? You are justifying the other person who's just totally bored in this class right now and hates this subject. Because I love this subject. I really do. But I can understand why that person in the back of the class or whatever just wants to go play their video games, play sports, etc.
As a person who loves science, like if you've ever gone to a science college lecture that is done right, they show you an experiment that blows your mind. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the explaining the conservation of energy experiment where the guy stands here with a big iron ball, let's say a bowling ball here, lets it swing, comes back, doesn't hit him because of the conservation. That's a wonderful and fascinating thing to just watch. It has millions of views on YouTube.
But we've all seen the version where Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I love it. Why didn't I flinch?
It's because the fundamental laws of...
I love it. My point being is, like, in philosophy, you can put that level of experimentation in philosophy. How? Okay, instead of introducing so-and-so in the year whatever, introduce the idea. But some people will say, it's like, I don't care. Let's stop appealing to authority. Show me where the limits of my mind are. Show me, hey, there's this question, or can I get two participants over here? Let's start doing this and start doing that. It's like, notice how you guys are doing this. And that's like, all of a sudden we have questions that none of you in the class can answer. Right? Now I'm interested. Now I'm no longer thinking about going back and gaming and abandoning the class. Now I'm thinking, you're right. For me, philosophy is walking the entire perimeter of your mind and wondering why those limits are there and going, what do I do now?
I like the phrasing of the entire perimeter too. You know what I used to say? I used to say, have you actually cleaned your attic? Which is way worse than walking the entire perimeter, because my analogy was like, okay, yes, you clean some areas of your house or your mind or something, but like, have you cleaned everything?
That other dirty room.
The area that you're trying to neglect or something.
Right.
But I think I'm going to switch over to, because that communicates the entire thing better.
I thought of that as a religious man back in the day. I remember on the many thousands of hours that you spend in traffic in a car-centric city piece of shit. Why is it that I don't think certain thoughts? I know that there is a horrible person out there who is thinking things about murdering their mothers and doing whatever things to dogs, and my mind doesn't go there. And I was wondering, that's because of my emotions. Where else am I not going because of my cognitive capacity and also other aspects of my emotions? And that was a fascinating and scary thing to try to do. You know, it's
and like, obviously we're going to have a fun discussion on this eventually, and I take the minority opinion on this, but from a deterministic perspective, you don't know if eventually one day you'll end up like that, or if you have any part to play in your not being that way right now. Even from a free will perspective, you can easily fall off the tightrope and go that way. So, but yeah, I'm just saying that I agree. It's kind of wild to think about, why do I think the way I do? Yeah, because the environmental pressures could have led me toward being like that. I have my finger on the trigger for a determinism conversation. But if we stick to intelligence, we haven't even introduced. Okay. What do you mean by intelligence? Because I wanna real quick just get your thoughts on chapter 1 of Axiom, and it has one more episode left. That'll be mental health.
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, will probably be a while before that comes out. But the next one will be mental health. We may do some other episodes on the side.
Yeah.
But what do you think about chapter 1? What do you think about the purpose of chapter 1? And what would you add, subtract, and then maybe let that introduce intelligence, because that's a bigger word for you than
most agreeable chapter so far, right? I agree that something is. Even if I tried to disagree, it would be a monumental task for me to do that.
Yeah. And in fact, like, I'm interested in that debate.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
good luck.
Yeah, I know. Yes. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. If something starts debating it, I would promise you that if before you find a person who can actually make an intellectual comment on it, you're going to find people who simply misunderstand what we're talking about first.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, everyone agrees. Just even having the conversation acknowledges that stuff is here. It's impossible to talk about what is and not think about the simulation theory, right? I guess it is possible.
Well, okay, and not talk about the simulation theory. Yeah, that comes up a lot, and I think kind of the Descartes example was supposed to. That was the simulation theory before we had simulations, right? It was like a demon.
Right. Well, anything that, and if not simulation, then we have Plato's cave. Anything that tells
simply illusion, simply mistaken perception.
Right.
That is all they are. That's all they are describing.
But I have a personal approach to that, which is if you believe in it and nothing in your reality changes as a result, it's kind of useless. So the simulation theory, right? So if you believe in something...
right. I see where you're going.
If you believe in something, like a voice is telling you, and then you're going to start going out and your behavior changes, right? If your behavior changes as a result of the belief, it's different. But the simulation theory basically is not going to change anything. It doesn't demand anything.
In high school, I remember, because a lot of the times when you grow up in evangelical conservative schools now, they try to teach philosophy to try to teach the counters to a lot of that philosophy. They try to get ahead of the curve. While they were teaching about Descartes and some simulation stuff, I remember the day we kind of all walked away and said, doesn't matter if it even is a simulation.
It's what changes.
Exactly.
Pain still hurts.
Happiness and unhappiness still exist.
And the universe,
and that's all we will be trying to pursue or avert.
And whatever this reality is so consistent and immutable. It doesn't matter what you do. You really can't do anything about it.
I remember losing respect for those teachers for positing that thing as that hypothetical as some kind of like wow, profound idea, when really it's just like this kind of has a solution. It's like you have no reason to be questioning it. So maybe one day, Truman Show. Maybe one day you find the edge of this simulation.
Right.
Doesn't really change how you live here, right?
What are you gonna? It's and that's my approach to it. So I see that as being an excellent first step, and I think something that almost pretty much anybody with a mind would respect. The moment we start getting into but what is the mind? I have many more questions to ask.
Well, right, because the first axiom is just that something exists. The follow-up to that is to answer the question of somebody going, how do you know that? And so you describe the process of knowledge by saying that. Like literally answering the question, how do you know that? And so you say the mind perceives it, and it's correct about that. We have no reason to not really think it's... we have no reason to think it's incorrect about that, so we just kind of go with it. And then extrapolating or inferring more from that process, is there anything else the mind notices? And this is where I say is kind of the significant branch off into more debatable territory.
It's amazing how quickly, I'm pretty sure there's a mathematical formula to describe how quickly it goes from we all agree, and then it goes so...
And like the words we're using are now all over the place. Because, I think happiness is something like the word happiness has to come really soon after that, because it's the emotional state you're trying to achieve. You know, and so some people say, happiness is too superficial.
That's a point that we both agree with. I remember there was this legendary in our community, in our friends. One of my friends came over. It's like, you know what Ryan did the other day? It's like goes to a lunch. We're all starting. The first thing he starts the conversation with is like, guys, did you know that happiness is subjective? It's like,
I did not start that conversation. Everybody thinks I started that
That's what I heard.
They literally were talking about if morality is objective or subjective.
Okay.
And because morality is synonymous with happiness in my view, and in the view of the view that I'm like perpetuating, which is mostly psychological egoism, Buddhism, Epicureanism, hedonism, these kinds of things. Happiness, or things which make you happy, are at least in part external to you.
Yeah.
Thus, they are objective things.
Yeah.
That was when I came into that conversation, and like, I actually say morality is objective because happiness is objective.
Which reportedly is when the conversation really started.
I know, right? Yeah. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have brought it up, because they were talking about it. I hopped in, but
I personally agree with that aspect of the video. It's as a materialist, it's easier for to agree with
either way. Whether you think everything is material or there's like an immaterial side,
an ontological side,
it doesn't really change that much. It's kind of like the simulation theory. It's like, whatever I'm calling happiness and pain still exists.
Yeah.
So whether it's material, whether it's immaterial. So, anyway.
Yeah. Chapter 1, I think we agreed, like, pretty much almost in agreement with almost every. It's so difficult to disagree with Chapter 1. Chapter 2, I would imagine there's so much more to say about the mind as a thing that you can dissect and divide. And it's not a given that we are the most, like, a finished version of sentience that we can even...
Was that
measure
implied?
It was not implied.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess maybe you could say, because
maybe it was implied somewhere, but
we treat sentience as we are here now. It's a state.
Okay, so
you know?
in a sense, I think that's defensible, because I think we look at history and we say we are on the very end of the spectrum. Apparently, we might be wrong about this, but we think we have the most conscious capacity that anything has ever had
on the planet.
Well, okay, yes, but anything that we readily observe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the door is pretty open to it could develop further.
Okay.
But I think part of the amount of consciousness that we have achieved is the realization of how far we've come.
Yeah.
Like, dogs aren't like, wow, I'm way more conscious than an ant.
Right.
How did I get here? Yeah. Somehow along the way, consciousness developed to the point where it's saying it's reflecting on its own journey, right? Its own comparation with other beings too, but could develop more. I think.
I think this brings us to the point that we started with. Is I don't know if Ryan has as much of it as I do, which is such a for me that's fascinating.
I think that's a taboo concept, but needs to not be. It needs to be handled well, but also needs to not be.
My opinion is that we're suffering as a species right now because we don't approach it the right way. Let's say that there's a right way to do it. Obviously, it's like I'm just going to assume, based on my ego, that Ryan's consciousness is inferior to mine. Therefore, I will treat Ryan as that already goes the wrong way. But
so you can even say like Ryan's consciousness might be less than Axel's, but does that mean it's inferior or has its particular use, and maybe I have my particular use? And you know what? I mean, it's wild to say, but like we really treat some people as less capable than others. Even the person who like wants to be super, what would you say, super even-handed about their treatment of everyone is still going to give a less consequential job to a special needs person. Unfortunately, we do differentiate. So,
and I don't think that's unfortunate. Don't give don't give a person who is cognitively impaired the job of being an air traffic controller. Okay, that is irresponsible. Don't give a child.
I might defend the word unfortunately still, because I guess what I'm saying is I wish everything could be equal. You know what I'm saying?
But all things being as they are.
Yes,
if we don't want to euthanize people, if we don't want to eradicate people based on their cognitive capacity, then I think I agree with you in the sense that there are people who are specialized for something, and maybe we don't need to evaluate it in inferior or superior. One example of it is, for example, I hate the idea of being a farmer. It's a very heavy maintenance, tedious job to do. Super necessary.
Yeah, I wish we could all go back to being farmers.
I would hate being a farmer.
Yeah.
I would hate it because it means that every day I have to wake up and do the exact same thing just to stay alive, and it's a lot of work, and I'm gonna die.
It's so simple, it's so beautiful. Oh man, maybe I should become a farmer.
Well, great, and I could evaluate.
That's the lesser consciousness, right?
It's like, well, a person of your cognitive ability. I, in my experience with the farming life, it is not demanding of a strong philosophical exploration. And in my case, it would get in the way of my mental liberties to explore those things. For other people, maybe it doesn't. But let's assume right now that farming is perhaps better suited for people who have those cognitive abilities to do it. They won't feel miserable when they do it. They can do it just fine. In that case, then I believe those people should be given the privilege of farming, and we should treat them accordingly. We should reward them accordingly. The way that I take that is in the population, and let's take this away from farming because I don't believe this about farmers, right? In the population, I do think that there exists a decent portion that should not have the right to vote.
Hot take.
I think that as a species, we suffer when we allow a full indiscriminate democratic process. And it's difficult because obviously we have discriminated based on race or gender, which is absolutely absurd. But if you discriminate, let's say, on someone's ability to make decisions that understand consequences, especially future long-term consequences, I think that is what should dictate a person's ability to vote.
I think most people are actually open to qualifying further who should have certain rights, say the right to vote or whatever. I think the main reason why we kind of don't right now is because nobody can agree on where that line should be drawn.
We don't have the measuring tools to make those calls.
We basically all think there's some group that shouldn't be allowed to vote.
And it can go wrong so fast if we try.
That's right, exactly. I think this is the slavery issue that we ban it outright because any kind of trying to split hairs over when it is and isn't justified is a very slippery slope.
We ban it outright, but we sneak it under the table.
And we sneak it under the table.
Because at the end of the day, we still need hard, thoughtless labor.
Yeah, right.
So,
prison labor.
We still have slavery. Slavery has not gone away. It's just the hardcore, only black people slavery.
Racially motivated and ethnically motivated.
Culturally motivated.
Yeah.
I don't even think, I'm not thinking that slavery is the best way to do it. I think it's a horrible way to do it. I think, again, if I'm thinking about farmers.
To do what?
Oh, for example, farming. Farming, you could say it's a kind of like slave job. Okay, Ryan, you like farming? Tomorrow you're going to wake up, you're going to bring me my food, and I'm going to be here writing books.
I don't think of it as a slave job. I think of
it... Then you should farm. You should farm, and I should reward you for farming my food.
I have always loved sweating, just in general.
Yeah.
I hate that we are trying to be a no sweat society. I hate that we avoid the sun. I hate that we avoid outside, we avoid non-air conditioned spaces, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, there's a lot about that.
And to definitely bring it in focus of what we're talking about, I think that everyone can be specialized in an area that benefits so many people. And
I'm just saying, I don't think of it as a slave job.
Great.
Yeah.
And I think that probably proves the point.
Well, and real quick, I think one of the reasons why we often do think of it as a slave job is because the Atlantic slave trade, one of the main jobs was like farming stuff, right? Yeah. But how many other careers were there at the time?
That was just the market.
Yeah, right. It's like that is the job. Yeah. So yeah, you're going to make someone else do it. And then, in other societies you had, pottery slaves and stuff. But, nowadays you have plenty of farmers who love farming and have more technology, and it's a little bit of an easier job, etc. So maybe that's what I have in mind too.
I think that something that nobody can deny is that consciousness seems to be quantifiable.
Yeah, that everybody puts different words on. See, and I always say putting words on things because, like,
we label.
Yeah, label. Yeah, I say put words on that. Put words on that.
Put a word on this.
Yeah, put a word on it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody puts words on stuff.
Yeah.
Just in general. When it comes to the things we call consciousness, people put different words on different categories of consciousness. And so,
Yeah. And I think that it's so important to acknowledge that treating everyone indiscriminately, believe it or not, I think is not treating everyone equally. In other words, you're not treating everyone based on their needs.
I meant to mention that I usually think it's a way of sneaking in preference also.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like, okay, this is not taking a stance on affirmative action, but it's really funny that we say all people should be treated equally, but we also need to balance out some historical injustices.
Right. Reparations.
I am fine with reparations. I am fine with affirmative action, but this really flies in the face of the thing we just said.
Right.
Of treating people equally. Because if we're saying I get to be the judge of what the historical injustices were and what the correct punishment and the correct corrections should be, then we're not talking about equality anymore. And unfortunately, it sounds nice. Yeah. Like, equality sounds nice and is a very kind of simple, attractive concept. But in practice, that's what I mean by it's often used, and in more cases than like affirmative action, it's used to say, yes, we're equal here, but I'm kind of going to employ this person because I like this person more or something. Yeah. It's kind of like a shield or something, or kind of a smoke screen.
When it comes to these political activist approaches, my approach has always been like I like to steel man what they're trying to say and evaluate whether or not that's possible. As in, I think that equality for everybody means, it had to mean, for it to be logically true, is everyone gets what they need respectively.
Right.
Which is, okay, that's great.
Right.
And there was another one that you said that whatever that meant is, it depends on, there was another one that I'm thinking is like, we always hear the term trans women are women. It's like, okay, I would imagine steel manning that. It's like they don't mean that biologically speaking, people that can be designated as sex male are sex female just because we consider that way. But the other stuff, societal considerations of what anyone is supposed to be based on their sex, can be interchanged, right? And treated just the same. And I'm thinking, okay, that's different. But so when it comes to, and that also plays a role in equality. When it comes to equality, I do believe it is all about giving everyone the thing that they needed, right? You don't give a guy with attention deficit disorder the same treatment that you give a very focused accountant. I think that's
Who determines what people need?
That's the... So while that is a question that is just dangerous to ask, there's no stopping the practical approach to it. Like we're still trying to give everyone what they need.
And that's why, I don't know, like that's why I kind of out the gate just say I give people preferential treatment.
Okay.
Like, if I prefer the way somebody acts to this person, it's based on me.
Right. I like that guy better.
I wish I could put forward some kind of principle that's like, I adhere to the equality principle or something. But, like, I can't find anything that doesn't ultimately come down to just preferential treatment.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, that does shaft some people. That it does unjustly shaft people because my perception isn't perfect and my intentions aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And that means other people will suffer because of my bad judgment and intentions. Mm-hmm. I don't think we can get around that as a species.
No.
Yeah, and you know what? We'll edit this part out. It's funny that race is kind of a
That's a
about
great
race.
point. I don't think you needed to use 33 different racial slurs to make the point. But I understand what you're saying.
It was just one long one. Yeah.
So take this into consideration. So we're talking about indiscriminate treatment, or the value of discriminate treatment, in my opinion, based on a person's cognitive ability, right? If we can hypothesize in a world where tomorrow we discover an amazing neuroscience sensor that just reads everyone's minds or whatever, to the point that, hey, this person is better equipped for this job, these relationships, this culture, right? It's like all of a sudden, okay, we should not try to force them into, let's say, the culture or
yeah. I think I'm big into this also, and probably not that this was this machine that reads neurological capacity. Not saying it's always right,
exactly,
but it's our best tool we have, and I'm big into that.
Yeah, because I've always thought one hypothetical example, and I think anyone in the audience can actually, it's like, what is this guy talking about? If you're in the supermarket and somebody's rude to you in an aisle, you're like, oh, what is wrong with this person? You begin judging them accordingly, right? You discover later on that this person has a cognitive deficiency, whatever that is.
Right.
Your judgment is not the same anymore.
This is something that I come out of the gate saying is a great thing about determinism.
Okay.
Is that you basically always, theoretically, hypothetically, can always find a understandable reason for the thing that seems frustrating. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Something is causing this behavior.
If you understood what those causes were, just like this machine might be able to, then you might know, oh, they have this cognitive.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, they have a cognitive impairment. Some people have less cognitive impairment. Like one person maybe suffers from a terrible, severe cognitive impairment where they need assistance all the time. Another person, less severe, they don't need assistance, but they're still cognitively impaired. Okay, there is a quantifiable amount of impairment. We can definitely argue there's a quantifiable amount of ability. It's like, and we already agreed that we can postulate that in the future there will be more consciousness. But I'm thinking right now, in the varied amounts of consciousness, I think that we don't treat people fairly by indiscriminately treating everyone as you have the same amount of will, you have the same amount of ability to make decisions that everybody does.
Yeah.
It may not be the case that's true, and we're burdening people with the responsibility of being an independent societal member of society. Their actions have consequences on people. We judge them according to those consequences. We punish them according to those consequences, which is like, I don't know how fair it is that, for example, perfect example here in our city, we force everyone to drive. You don't have a life if you cannot drive. Yeah. So it's like, I'm pretty sure that not everyone is capable of driving. It's not a thing that we should force everyone to do. Right. Doesn't mean that they're lesser than us. Doesn't mean that they're stupid. It just means your brain did not develop it.
Yeah, and it's kind of the responsibility, let's say, of the people who have high cognitive ability to like understand and make ways for the other people to live better.
Yes.
Because we shouldn't be forcing driving on them, assuming that they have your own cognitive ability.
We shouldn't be forcing pet ownership or allow free pet ownership. We shouldn't be forcing or allowing free child or reproduction. That gets into a really risky...
Yeah, we are getting into a bunch of subjects here. Okay, wait, let me ask, was there anything else... So in chapter 1, just from a bird's eye view, we hit on what is consciousness, what is perception, what are basic mental processes that we do, my stance on free will, what we just do, morality, and then we'll do mental health. You are saying that if you were to write a chapter 1, you would probably have an entry on the subject of intelligence.
If I were to write a chapter 1, it would be a different approach, simply in the delivery of the information. But we're almost on the same page in chapter 1. I would only add more details to the picture in chapter 1. It is in chapter 2.
Part of this is just the desire to. I'm done with this. I'm ready to move on. Like I want to learn about health now. You know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. If I were to make a chapter 1 on first principles, something looks very similar. It's just a different approach to make it more educational. And the other chapters definitely things things start getting more complicated. My approach to sentience is it's not just that it exists, it's also it exists at different levels. If you think about it, this is related a lot to mental health.
Huh.
Yeah, absolutely. So we judge mental health by the behavior of a person because we don't feel what the other person feels. We don't think what the other person thinks. It's only by their behavior that we go, something is wrong and this person needs help or whatever. And when we go into mental health, we're thinking also about our own health status. But when we say mental health, we assume there is a correct way of being mentally, which I agree and disagree.
Yeah, it's definitely slippery because you are extrapolating off of your own definition of what happiness is, and saying you must be having trouble achieving this.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What if it's a mental health issue to want to sweat? You know. What if to me it's like that is
the funny thing is you picked the wrong subject to debate the mental health efficacy of for sweating at least.
Or the opposite. What if not wanting to sweat and being fully domesticated in air-conditioned environments is actually worse for your mental health?
Bingo.
Okay. The incredible debate. Why is one, all of a sudden I feel so happy not sweating? When I work out, I want to be in a.
Do you?
When I work out, I want to be in an environment where I'm not sweating.
And I think my whole approach to this, although I think you're dead wrong, is that your belief needs to be actually just like protected and not forced out of its
more maintenance heavy.
No. I mean so how am I going to try to argue you over to my side?
Yeah.
What I'm not going to do is grab you by the cuff, pull you outside, destroy your air conditioner, and make you run 6 miles for obvious reasons and in examples that we've all seen 1,000 times before. Yep. That is not the way to change someone's mind, right? Now they're just going to remember the glory days of air conditioning for the rest of their life. The thing to do is to give really small incremental tastes and draw attention to maybe that did make you happier, that little thing.
Yeah.
And so my approach would be to let's go play a game of spike ball. I'll teach you how to play. And, start in the air conditioning. Start in a colder environment where even with your with you working up your body heat, you're not going to sweat or something. And then it's these little incremental things. And then you have to just literally ask yourself, do you feel happier now? Right. Which is wild.
Positive association.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just a survey to see what you think works or not. Do you feel more satisfied with this or that?
Yeah. And of course, that's just one example. Personally, I'm not too.
Obviously, we're not debating.
Yeah, I'm South American. I've already sweat all the amount that I need to sweat.
Yeah, you sweat more than I will ever sweat.
I've made a career already, of
sweat.
I
know, true.
So I think that that's going to be a fascinating topic, especially if we're thinking about. I love the phrase of quantifying sentience. If we're talking about something along those lines, is definitely what makes one person satisfied and healthy, meaning that they're suffering less and they're making other people suffer less. It's going to be different for other people. So that's going to be an interesting one.
So by intelligence, you mean the intelligence spectrum, the consciousness spectrum. Some things that we even call people. Some people. That sounds so bad. Some things that we even call people.
But I agree. Yeah,
but
I agree.
Some people seem to have more and less capacity for these things, so we treat them differently. Kind of is.
It's. I mean, that is bringing.
Or we
it down.
should.
That is bringing down to the practical approach of it and the moral approach of it. But I've always noticed, for example, one of the things that we can suffer from in treating with other people is that. Have you heard of theory of mind? In neuroscience, one postulation is that this may be the reason why humanity across the board believes in God. It's this cognitive function that we have when we see the thing that kind of is like us, we assume, okay, so there has to be.
Oh, right. It
has the same thoughts that I have.
The tiger in the bushes or something kind of thing, where it's like, if we hear rustling in the bushes, and if you assumed it was a very conscious thing, you're more likely to take more defensive action. So we assume, and then you survive more because of that. And so we assumed consciousness a lot.
We assume consciousness a lot. That is the perfect phrase. We assume it a lot. Again, it gets dangerous, but for example, my life has personally benefited a lot from me not assuming consciousness so much.
You've benefited from not assuming that there's more consciousness there than...
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I've benefited a lot from that. A lot of people, expressing that to one friend, my friend definitely disagreed. He was like, whoa, it's like that's...
and it's like, I understand... See, a lot of these ideas, and I think everyone has them, are ideas that are, say, taboo or shocking, inappropriate.
Yeah.
But it's like we all know we could take a more refined, high-resolution approach to these subjects. But when somebody just, like, postulates an idea out of the blue or something, it can sound jolting.
Yeah. You're bringing explosive devices onto the table, or explosive chemicals in a situation. I understand that because these thoughts can go wrong so fast.
Yeah, right. And it's like, we're proposing a lot of change too, which I think everybody agrees that, like, no matter what you believe change needs to happen.
Yes.
Right. And so anybody who's proposing a lot of change, it's almost a scary proposal off the bat, because you're thinking like, wow, does that potentially leave the door open to a bunch of other stuff? Yes. And like, so trying to find a way of affecting the change. And, I guess, hell, we'll come right out and, say this right now. I think like, this administration has actually been a really good example of like one party trying to affect the change that they wanted, but then the way that they did it leaves the door open to so many other uses of the presidency, And so, anyways,
it's I think to me this if we introduce the election, it was so revelatory of things that I have always assumed, which is like, okay. Like, I think that we were all assuming too much consciousness on the other party. Both the right on the left and the left on the right. We are assuming
that's really interesting.
That's been a constant thought that's been on my head. Is we don't understand what's going on in the mind of another person. Their behavior seems so jarring that we have no option but to assume it has been broken somehow. Because we cannot fathom how this one person can be racist. They cannot fathom how a person can support transgenderism, and so on and so forth. There's a barrier of thought. And I guess maybe the benefit of me having been a religious person who was to the point of, I don't want to say fanaticism, but like, I believed in things that there is no way I can prove. I had behaviors that there is no way I can justify nowadays. I can kind of understand why one side thinks the one way. I can kind of understand how the other side thinks.
Yeah, because you were inside.
Yeah.
Yes, right. I get the same thing. It's why almost all criticism of evangelicals, I kind of like laugh and nod my head a little bit, but I'm also like, you guys don't understand why they think that way.
Exactly. To me, it's almost never jarring. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Exactly. It's just like, of course they think that.
Just like, of course, you also get this horrible thing. This goes into another debate. It's like the optics of the left. As a person who was born in a religion, you're always watching out for optics. It's like, okay, yes, God is real and everything, but we gotta look.
Is optics is the way you're viewed, right? Not the way you view. So the way the left is viewed.
Yes.
Oh, right.
It's like,
because the left is viewed as like
insane.
Like the like the White Walkers.
Yeah,
they're like the civilization-ending chaos agents.
we look. It's I say we. It's like yes, the left-leaning culture when it expresses itself looks pretty crazy to people, let's say on the right, when they observe it from that view.
Right.
It's like for them, it's like there is no consciousness that we can assume here. That it is there's either a cognitive deficiency, but the other thing is also like
you're saying the right is probably thinking this about the left. That there must be some kind of cognitive.
I've noticed that what the right eventually thinks about the left is like these people are evil.
Or if they take a free will, which most of them do,
Yes.
they'll say they are personally
Yes.
evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are manipulating.
Which is fine. The disagreement that I have with them there, because we don't have a disagreement on whether or not you could even deserve the label evil, because I would say, and I mean, a lot of people on the left too use the word evil or immoral or whatever, and rightly so in my view. But where I disagree with people generally on both sides, but I don't know who I disagree with more on this, is that no one is ever fully gone, if that makes sense. You could be I think if this is going on YouTube, we can say you could be Adolf Hitler. And I would still say there, whether it's from a deterministic or free will perspective, there is something I could do to get that person to change.
Okay.
That is like such a fundamental, like, I'm not saying I can access that information. I'm not saying I know how to do it.
Right.
But there is a way where I could present information, I could train some experiences that would make Adolf Hitler go, oh yeah, Jews don't deserve this treatment.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that is BS.
Fascinating. Yeah, well, and
Behavioral science. So, and I do mean,
I was going to say from a deterministic view, I would agree. I would agree that.
And I do mean it in both ways. One is, you're absolutely right. Technically speaking, every brain has a way that you can manipulate it so that it changes how it comes from. Just like every car, doesn't matter how trash it is, you can fix it.
Exactly.
But is it worth the cost?
Exactly. And that's where we get to, like, maybe that's where the word, like, just you don't even bother trying to work on that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to violently confront
Who's going to pay for 10 years of therapy to change a racist person?
And this kind of gets into the question of, like, the death penalty versus trying to what's the word?
I know what you're looking for, and I forgot it too. But just make the person better, make the person more equipped for society. How do you say that? Rehabilitate.
Was that it?
It doesn't sound like it. In my mind, it has more R's. It has more R's in the word. It's not rehabilitate. It's
It's an R word though. God damn it.
It's an RR word. Reinstitution. Rehabilitate. Fuck it.
No, we're gonna remember it after the episode.
Yeah. So whatever it is, they need to be put back into society. And I think, the death penalty doesn't do it. The death penalty is for the need for justice. It doesn't fix anything. It's just...
No, I'm not taking a stance right now.
The death penalty is just, I hated what you did, and the only way that I can have peace is you need to die.
It's not what it is.
Functionally, that's all it serves. We don't fix you if you're dead.
Right, we will debate this another
And we
time.
cannot fix my problems if you die.
You'll be just as wrong on this as you are on determinism.
It doesn't change the other people's either. It's like, well, I'm going to commit the same crime because I want to, and I guess they'll kill me, right? Now, torture penalty may be a different story, but death penalty, it's just like...
See, you're having this debate right now.
I'm so sorry.
I just said we're not.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to finish my point. So that's my opinion on intelligence. It's important to acknowledge not everyone should be treated equally. And I think we do need to start with that point so that we start looking for how we can satisfy a person's needs based on their, let's call it personality.
And it's supposed to be an empathetic pursuit.
Well, we're supposed to...
and it's supposed to minimize suffering literally for yourself.
And
too.
everyone.
Yeah. Because, but like yes, everyone. Yes, society. But chiefly for yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That, like... And it's one of the things I talked about in the morality video. It's like, why do you give a shit about society? Because you give a shit about society.
Right.
And like, why do I care that we live in a society that treats people more appropriately or something depending on their ability level? It's because I want us to spend our resources more appropriately, right? That will benefit me.
Yeah, which goes back maybe to like selfishness, which is something I would love to talk about that because I don't even believe I don't even believe in selfishness in the classic way that everyone labels it.
That's interesting because like there's a lot of different camps around the word selfishness. You actually have like spiritual people who say, yeah, it's like be selfish and stuff. And then there's a sense in which I say selfishness is the highest good, but I strongly disagree with the way they mean it. And then I disagree with anybody who tries to put the highest good anywhere outside yourself.
Right.
And so, I'm on a very small little island saying there's this conceptualization of selfishness or self-centeredness that I say definitionally has to be the highest good. It's the one you're the most certain of. But anyways, that's intelligence. That's your that's interesting that that's a kind of first principles subject
For me, yes.
because like maybe with my approach, that kind of comes up down the line a little bit when we get into sociology or something. Okay. So it's like, because as we said in chapter 1, there are different levels of consciousness or whatever, even within any species, including humans, we should treat them accordingly or something. And I think I have less of an idea of what that means than you do. I'm more fine with the way things are right now, knowing they're not optimal, but saying that like that's lower on the list of priorities for me of things we need to correct, which may just be a blind spot in my observation and my perception. But there are other things which I say are higher priority to correct in society. But regardless, the subject of treatment of different intelligence levels belongs in a later chapter too.
Okay.
So
that's perfectly fair. I guess we jumped a lot into the sociology aspect so quickly because it's almost inevitable. And probably the amount of stuff that we have to talk about intelligence in the first principle area isn't as broad or huge. It's just the agreement that, sure, we have this quantity of sentience, but there is more attainable and maybe ours is incomplete.
We have free will versus determinism in there, which is obviously can be way huger than the 30 minutes I spent on it. And then there's the morality one. I pretty firmly believe that to say everything that needs to be said to correctly cover the subject of morality only takes, well, you could say one sentence, your perceived route to happiness. And that's perceived route to maximal happiness. That's all that morality is. A lot of people have firm disagreements with that, and it may even be on one of my top items for ones that like I would die on that hill. It's it's so obviously correct.
Yeah,
needs to be defended. Like people need to have trust in their own instinct of happiness. That's the one that I feel like potentially ruffles the most feathers within chapter 1.
Okay. But I have a very materialist approach to morality.
And it can be materialist.
Yeah, it's just it's very harmonious with yours, or in harmony with yours.
Yeah. You know, as we kind of close out, obviously we want to make clear that like, you know, as we hit each of these subjects, we're not saying this is the final form explanation of any of these subjects. Yeah. Like I've thought about this recently. I would be open to just make a deterministic video. Put that one in there instead. Yeah. You know, like because part of the purpose of Axiom is to make optimal information. Yeah. But with the understanding that that's a tall order to try to actually make the correct information on everything. I don't feel like I'm capable of it. And so let's just use what we have right now more as platforms for discussion and understanding the way we all talk.
Okay. What we're all referring to.
What so we don't you're referring to.
So we don't get lost in semantics.
Exactly.
I noticed that it's when you talk about determinism online or free will, boy, equivocation is huge.
Yeah,
word salading is huge. It's like we're talking about nothing.
Right. And so, you know, it's a goal would be to arrive at the final form truth of any of these subjects and get to the right answer. Yeah, that would be a goal. It's not the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is to provide a like very healthy outlet for people to engage with these ideas with other people.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to eventually talk about the words objective and subjective too, because I think the same thing happens there.
Yeah.
With like,
I hate it so much.
Yeah, I'm really wondering like which societies just kind of like never came up with those
Objective
distinctions.
and subjective.
I feel like most non-white societies probably like never came up with having that distinction, and it works just fine. Like, so there's like I'm trying to understand, do we need this distinction?
I don't think that we do. I don't think that we do everything.
But the funny thing is, like, at the end of the free will video, I kind of made the same case about free will and determinism. I think if viewed correctly from both directions, you're gonna end up approaching life the same way. If you take them both correctly, which obviously we'll get into it.
Which means there is objectivity. It's the different viewpoints.
Right. And then, obviously, like, the first point, the axiom that something even exists, that's a pretty objective claim, right? Yeah. That's not saying it depends on perspective or whatever. But, like, do we need to be dividing all of these subjects into objectively or subjectively or whatever? Or can we just kind of be more direct with how we talk about it? Like, which I'm just not convinced either way. I'm not convinced that they are entirely useless. But I also think we are using it too much.
I think I can come up with a way better system to distinguish between the changes across individual experiences and the objective.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so we'll make a video on it.
Hell yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, okay. Well, closing out, what are you excited to touch on either within the main Axiom videos or within my directed videos or your directed videos within Axiom?
Right. There is a project that it's so parallel to the one that you're doing, which if I can make it a book, I won't make it a book, but I think as a video series will be amazing, called How to Think About the Universe. People view things like the Bible as the manual for life. We view things as, we believe that there are structures of thought that are great to keep going back to and reference and be like, okay, that's good begin. And for me, it's like we know enough to know that there is a better approach, a better mental approach to the world we live in. This universe has some rules. You benefit from having a mind that harmonizes with those rules.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm trying to go into.
So when I started this project in Austin, when I lived in Austin, I called it something different. I called it the Alignment Project.
Okay.
And then we would just get together and discuss. We'd just get together in person. Sometimes I'd have 5 people. Sometimes I'd have like 15 people. It was pretty great. We would talk about health, talk about mental health, talk about free will and determinism, etc. Talk about some first principles, etc. The reason it was called the Alignment Project is because you're trying to understand how you align your own body, your own emotions, your own consciousness with whatever is in the universe to optimize happiness.
Yes.
It's like there's it's like a plug going into an outlet or something. It's like we don't have perfect perception about how to get in exactly, but we know there is an optimal arrangement of how you align yourself with this universe, literally in physical alignment. And if mental is not physical, then mental alignment also, that will result in your maximal happiness. And then that's it. The word axiom, for a bunch of reasons, just like, I mean, it's shorter. The
name of 20 different podcasts.
True. But usually those podcasts are like, have a good rep. I'm thinking of Axios, which is like some political watchdog organization or something.
I think most people get the idea. It's like, okay, essential reality stuff.
Do they?
I don't know.
I think most people have no idea what the word axiom, what to even associate it with.
Okay.
Yeah. But if they think essential stuff.
I like the word axon.
What's an axon again?
The thing that follows the neuron.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with. Actually, it's funny.
Neurons, axons, dendrites.
It's the thing. It has to do with how we perceive reality.
I used the word dendrite in the free will video because I was saying like you'll never be able to point to a dendrite and say that's a thought or something.
You can never point to a gear in a car and say that is speed.
Yeah,
even though it is so essential to the speed.
Yeah, people say tearing apart a radio to find the signal. These kinds of things.
If I were to feel, like, if you were to ask me, it's like, Axel, what do you think your role in Axiom could be? I would say, like, I always want to be a pebble in the comfort of uncertainty. At the end of the day, it's like, we go, it's like, is there a God or no God? Is it more comfortable to go, I know there's a God, or to go, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, who knows, what knows, you know.
You want to provoke people to think more and arrive at more certain. I think that's supposed to be a privileged thing to get to say. That's for the politicians. That's for the kings. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's this very weird sheep thing we all
do.
When like we're talking about, hey, could society be like really different? And we all go, forget about it.
I have my food, I have my needs taken care of. You know, I'm like, when I see the comfort and uncertainty, maybe it's because my conversations have always been about attaining accuracy and truth. And in my peers, so this is very limited to my peers, right? I haven't gone to a philosophy club. Maybe the environment there is different. With my peers, it's like, well, everything is kind of subjective. Nothing is like completely true or whatever. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure truth objectively exists. That's me, right? I don't think it's all reality doesn't work in terms of maybes.
That is hugely the point of chapter 1A. Like, so, I say it in some sentences in there that's like, the point is, can know something.
Right.
You can make progress in your knowledge of stuff because of how many people like to hide behind veils of who knows of ambiguity and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, I'm not claiming certainty on everything. I'm claiming we apparently have the capacity to put two and two together.
Yeah.
In certain areas. That means we can argue.
Yeah. To conclude, since I have the mic now, if we ever reach a point where we go into like, well, we don't know, then I want to be the guy that says, well, this is what it is then. And then let's leave it there and then increase the urgency to fight that. Yeah. But that's what I hope to do in our time in Axiom.
Yeah, so to actually conclude, now that we're over an hour into this, I think, Axel, you're going to be directing some of your own that have more of an edutainment genre. Yeah. And then I'll help with it, but I think this is a switch of who directs which ones, and I'll try to direct the ones that are more along the main program, but we'll both be helping each other review. And then down the line, probably giving commentary on how the things we talk about in Axiom apply to some real world current events. Yeah. How what we talk about in Axiom applies to current events or whatever. So anyways, excited. Yeah. Glad to have everyone along for the ride. Leave comments, like, sub, all of that. And we're going to try to open up discussions somehow. We're going to try to have more community feedback and such. But open to ideas for how to do that. And thanks for joining.